second now, so let me just see if I can see it out there in streaming land. All right, we're live. Hey, everyone. We are here today to do some live coding again. Basically, an awesome opportunity to embarrass oneself. So today I have Martin with me. Martin is an SA here. Recently changed roles, right?
I'm still a temp, but I'm an enterprise now. I was in commercial before, so I changed sectors. Yeah.
So moving up to the big time.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and Martin has done a lot of coding with the GitLab API, and we actually last time stole some of his code to enumerate all repositories, and I have no idea if I'm using it properly. So I thought, rather than me fumbling around quite as much by myself, that I would have him come and help us understand how to use the code that he made. Let me just start screen sharing here. So we were working on code counting with the idea that if you're going to be doing DevSecOps with a product that charges you per code used, then you're going to need to actually count your code. And it turns out that the optimizations that we make there are also relevant to any large repos you have. So Martin, what I've previously done, let me just get the share going here, is we wanted to count, actually I'll just quickly go through a bit of a review because everybody who's not been here may not know these details. So if you want to count all your code across all repos in your whole company, there's a whole bunch of additional junk in a repo you don't need. You just need the latest swath of code, most likely in the default branch. And when you do straight git clone, you end up with binaries, the complete history, and you end up with a lot of extra stuff. So right here we show that if you just do a regular git clone of www.gitlab.com, you end up with 4.2 gigabytes. It takes 21 minutes to clone. And then you end up with 2.7 gigabytes of files, so that a bunch of that is the history. A big chunk of that is the history, which only takes 27 seconds to check out, which isn't too bad. And then we got this number of lines of code counted. And then with the optimizations, we only have 111 megabytes, a 260 megabyte checkout. So you can see a lot less time and a lot less disk. So if you're going to count all your code in your whole org, the optimizations that are in this article might be helpful. They were partial clone, shallow clone, and sparse checkout. So these are all new Git features. Some of them were co-developed by GitLab and other partners. And then within this, we also use the ever famous SCC for code counting. And we have the code for actually doing this right here in this article as well. So we've taken the code from the article, dumped it into a GitLab CI plugin extension. And just for those of you who have not been here before, this allows you to, this extension model has got a couple basic tricks. Basically, we name the job in a special way with a leading period so that it doesn't get processed. And that's almost like registering a function in another language. So when you have a function, it reads the code and gets it ready, but it doesn't actually run it. And so that's how we do that in GitLab. The second trick is just that anything in this code that requires data would have to use parameters, or in the case of GitLab, those would be CI variables, so that you can use it again and again all over the place in your whole instance and not have to change any of the code in this part. So that's our basic plugin. And then right here, we have an example of actually calling it. So we include that code, and then we are counting the lines of code here. So that's how we do that. We extend that little bit of code that we have there. So Martin, the part that we were having challenges with, I found this bash library against GitLab's API. And we nosed around in that to see if we could use something there, because I tend to go towards bash because it's elemental. It works for all kinds of other things. It's kind of, in some ways, the core language that by default you'd be doing in containers in GitLab. But it wasn't easy to figure out, or else it looked like it needed a lot more prep and stuff. So what I did was I nabbed your code out of let's see here, get groups. So I nabbed the first part of the code that you had right here for, this was out of the one that you had built, the bit you had built to check if a repo if there's any leaks to public on all groups and all repositories. So it's running successfully. So I cut off just the first part. So I'm assuming that in one of these objects is our list of projects, but I have no idea where to go from here. I'm looking for, I think what I'm looking for is in this code right here, on the next line, dump a single string of every repository name that we can then pass into the next job right here. But is there something that we can do to just omit those? Are they?
Yeah, I'm checking it. Yeah, I'm checking it right now, what you did there, and it seems I'm not getting all projects. I'm not getting the projects that are further down the hierarchy. So I'm now I'm now checking where I went wrong. So I'm making a groups.get group, and I think I'm not getting, I think the part that get group projects, get project attributes, I think the part is missing that gets all the, no, subs is like subgroups. Oh, I think there's just one parameter missing.
So this is, quickly check. This is where I stole it from, and I cut off. So I just cut off everything after basic enumeration, it seemed like, but I didn't have any idea what I was doing.
we are only after the projects, right? I think I think there is a way in the Python GitLab library to get all of them, including the subgroups.
Okay.
Let me quickly find. No, this is also not the case. I did this a number of times. I mean, we talked about before to have like a generic way of doing that. And
yeah.
I did this a number of times, and I don't know why, but I always start from scratch copying stuff back and forth. It's very bad practice. It's very bad practice. It's a bit embarrassing. So let me quickly see how to do this. So basically what we want in the Python code is in the end let me quickly share. Okay, no, then it's disabled for now.
Oh, you should be able to. Let me, multiple participants. Let me see who can share. Oh, it's only host and it won't let me change it.
That's okay. If you look at the Python code at the end, in the very last line, basically it says projects is like get group projects for all groups, and there should be all projects. But I had a sneaking suspicion that is not in fact all projects.
So I didn't even try to omit it. I didn't even try to print it out. So that's another thing too. Is
yeah. So but here I'm also doing the get projects for all subgroups. So I think I might have to fiddle around with it a bit. So
and feel free to replace this entire chunk of code with whatever you might have that's updated. We don't need to try to move forward with this piece if you have something that can drop in and go with it.
So it's groups, projects, list, projects, list. And then it has an include subgroup. So most of it can be actually be refactored to just be get the project to the group call for the top group, and then just do the call that includes the subgroups. I put the link in here, and if you see, there is a parameter that is called include subgroups, and that will just get all projects in a group, no matter how far down the hierarchy it is. So it will be the call to get all objects will basically just be putting it in the chat as well. Basically just be like
just this one call. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the first call to get the group, and then the next one is for that group object get the projects, and then this call a bit further down you'll see this include subgroups parameter. So if I'm not completely wrong, we just need to do get group projects for a group, and then we'll be doing 2 calls.
Okay, so that I can eliminate most of this code then, just the include GitLab or the includes, and then start coding right here.
Yeah.
Then? Okay.
Yeah. So we'll basically be just doing 2 things. That is get the group, and then the projects, list them. What do we want of these projects? So what is what do we need at the end to feed into the other script?
Just the URL for the group, the full HTTP URL. So the code, the rest of our code here basically assumes that we'll have an inbound that is repo list account. And so it's going to iterate through each one and do all the 3 optimizations of the clone of each one.
Okay, so that means it doesn't want the web URL, it wants the repo URL?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, let me quickly check what I think I want the the GitLab API, the projects API, to see how this attribute is called. It seems the search in the documentation is still broken. I don't know why they break this. It's not good. What we want here is oh yeah, a repo. I'm looking for the repo URL, the name of the HTTP URL to the repo, right? So in the projects API, it should be it should be this attribute HTTP URL to repo. It's very nicely named, right? That should be what we want.
You should be able to share now too, by the way. I think I got it fixed.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
I probably just share the entire screen because I'm looking at multiple things. So we have the code on one side and the documentation on the other side. So this is what we want, right? This is the projects API, and this is the parameter. Now I need the group object first, so I need to make the call here. No, this we don't need this anymore. We just do one thing. We put in the group. Then we get, like, let's say, the group object by making this API call. Then for all the projects, we say of this object, list me the projects and include all subgroups, all projects and subgroups. And then we have them in here. And now these are not fully fledged. These are not fully fledged objects yet in the Python GitLab API. So we need we need to get us the proper object, so the project object. So we need to do another API call for each projects, but we can just get the ID here. And now we have the proper project object with everything in there, and we will call this repo URLs because that's what we want, right?
Okay.
And we say in this repo URLs array, we just put what we get in here in their attributes, this URL. Right, and now this is very embarrassing. I should just purchase Sublime. And now we actually don't need to do this. We shouldn't need to do this.
You can just quickly install VS Code to save the file if you want. Coming from a VS Code bigot.
That's good. So we put the group in here in this get group projects kind of thing. Also don't need this. Probably don't need this either. So we instantiate GL. We get the group from the arguments. We don't need this. I think we don't need this either. And we just say, we don't need this. We just say this repo URLs. This is repo URLs. All of them should come in here. And then we just print them. And then they should just fall out, all of them. Let me quickly get a terminal window open. Yeah, or like this. This might work as well. So we had this in here, and now we just say,
because we can't do variable. Whenever you're working on CI, because you can't do variable expansions inside of a ref, we have to work in master, or we have to put in a ref and then take it out when we merge to master. So a hard-coded ref. So that's one thing I want to try to push a bug through on is.
Okay, I quickly stop the share because I don't have my token in here, and that's not nice. So now I can share this again. Okay. So, and now, let's hope that works. So now we get like in this tier 2 subgroup, we have a project here. We have, these are all projects in that group. So that should actually be doing. In which format do you want this? Do you want this line by line? Just
no. So one big long string is what I was doing. Because it's the simplest to pass back and forth between different parts. And then I just had it delimited. Let me see what the delimiter is. But we can change the delimiter. It's configurable. It's currently a semicolon, because I was assuming that you can't have that obviously anywhere in a Git URL. So a semicolon delimited string. Is there a maximum that you know of? If we save this to either a .env file or a straight out script, I guess we'll find out.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Well, that's what experimentation's for, right?
So if I'm not, so now we have semicolon separated.
Sweet.
One line. Okay, so where do I in here? Should I open a merge request here?
Just put it right into master, because Yeah, bringing it to master would be fine, I think.
Can I do that? Am I allowed
You
to?
have developer. I checked, and you have developer already to the repo.
But can developers push into that master?
Oh, good question. Let's just make it so that they can, because that will, it's. Okay, they should be able to now.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
Should be in there. So yeah, that's it. Can trim it down even further, but I'll stop sharing now. It's,
okay.
Maybe one step further.
Awesome, man. That's so fast. I think my head's still spinning.
I got very familiar with that library.
Yeah.
Over the last year, I have to, and it's a really sweet library there. It would be really nice if we maintain this and a bit more different APIs in different languages, you know, just so that it's up to date. But the sheer scale of it, I can understand why we won't, because the sheer scale of it with all the new features, would be huge.
Yeah, because I had an enterprise customer ask me just the other day, do you have a library for this? And I was like, well, I know there's a Python library. And at that moment, I was like, but I don't know if we maintain it. And then when I looked at it later, no, we don't. It's a community maintained.
Yeah, for some of the things I made, I had to, okay, that's a nice.
Yes, perfect.
Nice long list, yeah.
Okay, so
I can put out a count or something as well if you
well,
know,
actually,
just to make sure we got everything.
This is perfect because let's see, if we just put it, so one of the differences between .env file and doing your own kind of hack for passing variables between stages is that .env files are the typical Linux.envs, and they have limits, like you can only have 10 variables in there, and then a couple other weird, like 5 or 6 or 7 different weird limits. So one of the things, just for our viewers, is that I have examples of this in one of the repos out here of passing variables. So if you dig into this complex config data, since variables are part of config data, dig down to this level, we have examples of the, oh, no, you know what, I might be in the wrong spot here. I started another section because there were so many config variable samples. So under config data, we can use variables across jobs and pipelines using .env or scoped variables using files. So let's dig into this guy. One of these is just a shell, so the other one can demonstrate. But basically, if we collect a .env, it does two things. It's actually available in the pipeline from here on out. So if you had an actual YAML statement where you wanted to use the variable value, it would work. Where when you do just a straight up .sh file, it doesn't do that. It collects it and you can run it in your next script, but you're never going to see it in the pipeline itself. Yeah. So here's our format. Just basically variable equals, and we don't need to use export when we're using .env. So in theory, if we go into our code and we just echo into whatever. Let me get into Web IDE here. Okay, so what at this point, oh no, we should just make it identical to what's already in use up here, and then we won't have to do anything special. So we have a repo list. And then given the code that you just committed, this will just emit, this code will now just emit that. Okay, so let's see. So I'll have to call this, right? Should that give me what I want then? The result of the script will just be the one string, is that right?
Looks plausible to me.
Okay.
It won't fail graciously, though.
That's okay. We're into rough and ready here instead of graciousness at this point. So now we're also going to grab the artifact. So this is a special artifact declaration that is going to, in GitLab, whenever you grab an artifact, there's a special subclass called reports. And when you use reports, it does interesting things of loading data into the GitLab databases. So reports SAST, if your file, your JSON accords to our SAST reporting format, it'll load it into the consoles in GitLab. And same with loading JUnit. And this is just a special one that's going to say, create whatever variables I've specified here. When you read this file, create them in the pipeline, which means they'll also pass into every subsequent script, which means magically this variable here, repo list account, should come in here pre-populated and ready to go. And did we set repo list account anywhere? No. So I was probably setting it up at this level. Yeah, so we will tell you to go away so we don't have a clash. And then let's see if we can blow it up. I'm sure it'll blow up first try. Nothing else is emitting here, right? Nothing else emits any.
No, it's the only print.
Okay.
It's the only print statement in the whole thing. The only other thing that will come out of there are error messages.
Okay, sweet. Commit to master. Go look at our pipelines. View log. Oh, I don't like this inline for this big of a thing. Let's go here. Okay, so we're already on to the
it goes into the direction that you mentioned to me a while ago, right? You just have some basic functions available that get you all projects in a group, or that provide you certain attributes that you're looking for, and then to use them. And I think it would be neat if this was built in, GitHub Actions, like if I could get more GitLab stuff just by special calls in the CI.
Yeah. Yeah, so we actually did take one GitHub action and convert it. So the whole idea of this sub area of guided explorations is to show how we do something similar in GitLab. The difference being GitHub Actions, it's easy for developers in a large company to start picking all kinds of open source without having someone curate it or review it.
Yeah.
And in addition, and so that's been the problem, right, with Jenkins plugins, is code that people use they stop maintaining it because they're bored of it now, and then meanwhile, you as a company take a critical dependency on it. So any of these plugins, even though they'll technically work on GitLab.com, I always put this error message that says, don't depend on this plugin from here. So this is not an official location, but we're just trying to give like the same kind of examples, even though on the GitLab side, there's a little more curation involved. And then also one thing I want to point out about what we just finished doing here was, for those of you who've done shell-based CI, but not gotten into containers yet, even if you're not building CI, or you're not building your software into containers, there's still a lot of advantages to adopting them in your build pipeline, because you can see here, we're using two completely different containers to do these two stages. So if we go into these examples here, the first one here is using Golang with Alpine. I'm having to do some package installs to get everything completely ready, but this is a nice lightweight container, Golang oriented because I'm using SEC, which is Golang. And then the API code for GitLab is Python. So we don't have to worry about trying to get all those runtimes on one container or clashes between runtimes. We can just take and do the one atomic piece of getting the GitLab groups, drop it somewhere we can get in the next phase. So that's one of the advantages, is you're not constantly fussing with trying to get some monolithic build agent build working. And then if you're not careful, you haven't automated it either, you know. And so if your build agents, if you have a build agent that dies, it takes you a week to figure out, well, how did I even build that thing? Okay, so we got a good result out of here, but we have a disconnect here. Let's see what happened. Oh, we got our pass through. Oh, it's trying to do some cloning. Ooh, we fill up the. Okay, so, oh, it's not parsing. So this was something that I discovered the very hard way here, that the parsing is, it could be the problem right here, or it could be here. I tested this several different ways. Oh wait, cloning current repo too. So that should give us.
Is that you said IFS to pipe? Is that, can you go back there?
Oh yeah, I did. It's not semicon. Okay, so I just need to go in here. And
for example, yeah, and
right there,
yes,
right?
exactly, yeah, right there.
Sorry about that misdirect. And that should be the only error, right? Because then we're going to parse.
Might be one of them, yeah.
You're right. I'm being optimistic, aren't I? I'm like, okay.
Okay, good.
Last time we were chatting, I had Tucker on, and we were chatting about those 5 times in your entire life you write a significant chunk of code without testing it and run it, and it works, and you're just like, wait, slap myself a couple times. Did that really happen? So
I'm always suspicious. I'm always like, okay, there is something must be wrong. Like, I'll have to double check the output, because
if it actually succeeds, you get more suspicious there's something wrong. Okay, we already know this guy succeeded, so we'll. This will be interesting too on speed-wise, because it's doing those 3 optimizations: partial clone, sparse checkout, and shallow clone on all the repos. And of course, my list of if you're actually going to be using this in production, I have a specific list that I said I consider binaries. So you would, in theory, we could take this as a parameter as well, but just define whatever you consider a binary. I think Git also tries to identify binary files itself, but for some reason, I know what it is. Sometimes in your code counting, there are some code counting utilities. Veracode is one of them, where they actually do static checking on compiled binaries. So you don't want to throw out all binaries. You might want to keep, for instance, DLLs or .so files for Linux, because you'll actually submit them to the scanning engine to get a report on them. So, and then that way, if you're submitting it to their service, you don't have to expose your intellectual property source code. So, all right. See what's going on here.
Okay.
Aha.
Now it's just one repo. It cloned multiple ones.
Cloning. Oh, what's this? Is that an actual repo? Config dated. Okay, it's really long to this cloning. Sparse checkout leaves no entry on working directory. Oh, so sparse checkout didn't like that the result is going to be no files. So give us a 0, but we don't care. Should we just force it to 0? No entry on working directory.
Yeah, not sure. I mean, is the rest of the code resilient against?
Maybe we can override just this one error.
Okay.
Okay, he's just saying no spaces. I think we already did that. Oh, wait, there is a space here.
Should it leave should there be anything, or are you filtering everything out in this repo?
So this particular solution is saying that because they left a space somewhere, and I do have spaces which potentially are not necessary. So see, I have these spaces, but it was working. It worked fine with a repo that had some of these file types.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, it says it filters everything.
Right.
Is that the problem? So should it filter everything for this repo, or?
Well, we don't care. If we're going to go across an arbitrary set of repos, if the repos only has binaries in it that we don't want to count, then we wouldn't essentially care. You see what I'm saying? I mean, we could get as elaborate as trapping for this specific error, or, you know, for a quick test, we could just tell it mute all errors and then figure out if it makes sense to try to trap that one. Where's our git checkout? Was it on the checkout or on the clone? It must be on the checkout because it's sparse checkout. So what if we just do, what is it, like exit 0 to override, just temporarily, to see if we can scream, if it'll scream through all the repos?
Yeah, that's fine for now, I think.
Because we might end up with more than one error that we need to check for if we're going to be cleaner about it and neater and tidier. So basically, under ideal conditions, we would not just eat all errors, which is what I just did, just to test if we can get a good run. We would actually sit here and say, okay, the errors that we know are meaningless to us, we'll eat those. And so we would have to check standard error for this text, or if it's got I guess we could also omit and find out if it has a specific error code for that. Unless this is, yeah, it had to be during checkout because the first one worked just fine.
Yeah, it's the same question. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they are saying no space. I wonder if that might be a secondary. Let's get another one going here. Cool thing about CI is we don't have to wait for that one to finish to try another experiment. So I can't see any harm in removing these spaces, right? It's a new line, so.
I mean, it can only break, right? I mean.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right. There's new lines, so that should be okay.
Okay, try another. Ah.
What?
Looks better.
Ah, okay, that's one where you just, okay.
Oh, still died though. Did I not? Why would it terminate? Maybe there's a different problem here. Maybe this didn't terminate us. Wait, non-zero. Did I not do it right? I had just piped to, oh, maybe, is it because time is in here? I just piped to exit 0. Or I did or exit 0. Right? Is that right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think so, but.
Force, maybe it's true. Force bash command turn 0. Okay, here it is. I'm not doing it right.
True, yeah, I've seen this before.
Okay. Another experiment. If this one ends up working, then it'll be a non-issue anyway, but. All right, so just a quick explanation of what we just did. Even though it seems it's got to be not the spaces we try, or this particular run is trying with no spaces in at the end of our file names, or at the end of our file extensions that we're putting in the git sparse checkout file. Then the other experiment, we're just going to force to true to see if we can get it. Yep, so this one failed. Normally, when you're troubleshooting, you back out what are called unproductive fixes. So me eliminating the spaces is an unproductive fix. But if on this next one it completes successfully, we'll also know that it doesn't matter. It will work either way. And since somebody was having a problem with the spaces, I'm more tempted to go ahead and leave the spaces out in case there is another problem that will lurk later.
I think the problem here might be is like you're filtering markdown files. So if you have a repo that only has a markdown file, only a README, then there will be nothing, right? The checkout will
Right.
there will be nothing to fetch, and it doesn't seem to like it. So overriding this return might be legit, right? So
yeah. Huh.
okay.
Oh, okay. I knew this was going to come up. So the deal is you can have a GitLab because we have actual group namespaces, which you don't have in GitHub or code commit. You can have the same repository name at multiple levels. And when I'm cloning, I'm dumping into the repository name non-unique. I don't do any uniqueness checks. So now we just tried to clone into something that already exists. So we would have to come up with a way to introduce uniqueness. I know in the past, Martin, I've done, a check if the directory exists, and if it does, add like a number on the end and keep, go into a loop until you get a unique name. Is there another better way that you can think of?
I don't know, take the whole take the whole group namespace and to do something with the slashes.
Okay, that's
or not.
yeah.
I'm not sure, but that is how GitLab guarantees the uniqueness, right? So
That's true.
it might be quicker to just add a number or something like that, because otherwise you would have to touch that horrible set command that scares me just looking at it.
Oh, well, it should just be even just TR. You could just TR the forward slashes to dashes, right? I wonder about directory depth. Do you think we'd run in, what's a directory depth on the average Linux distro? Is it 256 total
it
characters?
should be. I think that should be that should be fine. Like,
okay.
So I mean, for we're not writing productive software here, right?
Right. So on git clone, current repo. So then my target folder comes here. So we have to, let's see, what are we getting out of this? We're getting this big long string. So we'd have to get this off as well. So maybe 2 seds are the easiest, like you were saying. So 1 sed would strip everything up to double slash, right? I hate regexes. We actually tried to avoid regexes. We were using, what do you call it? Base name. You can use base name on a lot of strings, HTTP strings, and it'll work, except as soon as you introduce any special characters. So as soon as we had a dot, like the dot git folder, or some of these will have the tildes for the GitLab runner token, so it can access the repo, then it would just bail and it wouldn't touch it and it would mess it up. So we had to resort to sed. So, so this would be repo folder. I guess we could just do it up here instead. That'll be cleaner. Repo clone-dir. So we can say echo repo. Oh, this is just the folder. So, oh, okay. No, we're gonna have to start from scratch. Current repo said everything from the beginning. So if we say to two slashes, oh my goodness, this is busting. This is bending my brain.
You're on your own, David.
Can TR do multiple characters? Do you know? TR. I'm gonna here bring this over. TR HTTP : okay, string 1, string 2. So HTTP. Surely it can. I'm doing wrong here. Just thinking it needs something more. Okay, we need to pipe something. Okay. Echo HTTPS to TR, and we want to take anything that's an S and change it to a Z. Boom. So can we take anything that's an HTTP and change it to Z? Change it to all Z space, or just nothing.
So alternatively, I can output something else. I could output one pair of repo URL and path, repo path per line or something like that, so that it's can just get it on the output from the Python script.
Yeah, but then we want people to be able to pass in just a list of repo URLs no matter where they got them from. That's the other mode that it operates in. So then they would be forced to somehow formulate their own clone string. So I would like to do it internally if possible. I'm just not the set expert here, so let's just try. Okay, let's grab this guy. abc.com xyz 1 2 3. That's what we're using inside. Huh. There's a difference between Mac shell. It should know better. Always use exactly what you really are using. I'm going to use the same container we're using in CI so that I get the same syntactical results. Okay, so we're in the container of the same type. Huh. Strange. It's actually in our code and actually working when we run it to parse.
Yeah, it works on my machine actually.
Interesting. But
I think because I have the GNU tools installed, so that
maybe your set is upgraded or something.
I think I don't have the Mac set in here, but
did you try in the container?
No, I didn't. I'm still trying to parse that set command. It's like okay, an arbitrary amount of characters from the beginning, right? But then there is this capture group that has these square brackets in there, and I just don't get what this does. It's just a mystery.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've understood it from the beginning, but then I'm lost.
Right. It grabs the last segment of the forward slashes and parses off the .git if there is one, and any other junk after .git if there is any. So when it's catching here, it's grabbing just the very last. Oh wait, maybe I already hacked it. That's the problem right there. I'd already messed it up on that second line, and that's what I copied in. Way to go. No, still not doing it. But let me grab this whole. Okay, so we ran that and it worked on the other guy. Repo folder, cloning to repo folder. Okay, so the other way we can do it is just check for uniqueness, but we're running out of time.
I mean, check if it exists, if the directory already exists, and if
yeah.
so, rename the folder.
Check for directory make unique. Unique files in a given directory. Oh, they're finding unique files, not creating. Okay, bash make unique directory. Make temp, do we have make temp on here? Okay, we do. But it puts it, it creates a full folder. Make temp help.
Sorry, but I'll have to jump soon, Davin.
Yeah, no problem. It looks like we can do it with make temp. We can set the base directory. We can make a directory, and we can even use a base directory name prepended to the template, so it would be recognizable if a human goes
sounds good,
through there. So next time around, I think I'll jump in and hit it with make directory. Thanks a lot for joining. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.